connecting to characters. And when I've just got a bunch of letters that are the characters, or, I mean, especially when people start out their query letters with a letter, or not queries, when they start out their manuscripts with a letter, I skip it. I hate reading letters. So, yes. Yes, I do commonly ask for revisions before offering representation, unless I do know that there's another agent interested. At that point, if I like it enough, I will go ahead and offer. But the reason that I usually ask for revision before offering representation is because I like to see how the author and I are going to work together, because I am more hands-on, and if they don't like my type of feedback or my notes, it's not a good fit, and I'd like to know that going in. I'm not as tired of angel urban fantasies as I'm as tired of vampires, for sure, but I do currently have a client with an angel urban fantasy, so it would be really tough for me to take on another one. Online presence isn't extremely important for clients when I'm submitting. The biggest thing an online presence is going to help you with is when you do get a deal, you do get a contract, and your book's coming out. That's all these audience that you're going to be able to reach out to. You're going to need to promote online, and online marketing is huge right now because you can do contests, you can do blogging, you can do interviews, you can have your book cover be your profile picture. Like, look at all the things that Mandy Hubbard is doing on Twitter. But telling an editor that you have a blog isn't going to make them love your writing or your manuscript any more or less. So, although we did have an instance. We did have an instant once where we had an offer on the table for an author with a publisher. The publisher saw the author speak at a panel and was so unimpressed by what they saw, they took the offer off the table. So that's a story of caution. So I always try and be as professional as possible. I have no idea what happened at this panel, but, you know, just word of the wise. What are my 3 biggest turnoffs when it comes to a query letter? Let's see. Bad grammar. Yeah, Katrina. Katrina gave me this. It says happy birthday. Okay, 3 biggest turnoffs when it comes to a query letter. I would say bad grammar, addressing it to someone other than me, and something that I don't even represent. Picture books that I love and type that I'd like to acquire. Fancy Nancy. I love Stella Luna. Oh God, it's one of our agency's biggest picture book sellers, obviously, and I would love something like Stella Luna. It's just so adorable. Let's see. I love let's see. God, I hate picking favorite books. Stop it. Don't ask me that question. Just go with those 2. Oh, my client Roseanne Thong. Read anything by her. I love her work. There you go. What is my query turnaround time? In our agency, no answer is a no. And my query turnaround time is really, really bad right now. I'm about a month behind. It used to be like 2 weeks. Now it's a month. Lord knows what it's going to be like in a year from now. How am I with demons in urban fantasy? Demons is another one that's really, really, really tough for me. It would have to be really, really, really good, especially because one of my colleague, Taylor Martindale, currently has a demon urban fantasy that she is pitching, and it's really good, and I would be really hard-pressed to find another one that's unique enough to not be the same thing. So we don't like to compete against each other in the office, obviously. If you're an author who has published some of your work on your website or blog, I'm wondering if you mean the full thing. If you check out when people do things like Teaser Tuesday on their blog, where they have like, a brief little snippet of their work in progress, then that's okay. But if you have self-published the whole thing, then yes, that's a turn-off for me. I mean, it's the same expression, why have the milk if you can have the cow for free, or whatever, why buy the cow if you have the milk, whatever, that thing. No, I wouldn't want I don't work with self-published fiction, period. The market for young adult, middle grade, or picture book manuscripts that address mental illnesses or special needs, I would say there is a tiny market, but it's really niche. I mean, it's not, it would have to be really unique. It'd have to be more literary. It's just, it's one of those things that there really are already so many out there that it would be really tough to find something that's unique enough and amazing enough to stand apart. What is my feeling about profanity in YA? It depends on what age group you're aiming for. If you're aiming for the upper YA, then obviously I would go to the bitch, damn, shit is okay, but I would never use the F word. You can say, oh my god, but if you're lower YA, maybe just damn or gosh darn it, or and obviously younger than that, profanity is not okay. So otherwise it's fine. I just really don't like the F word. How do I feel about genre hopping? I think it's okay as a writer to write different genres. However, if you get a book deal for one genre, you better keep writing in that genre and establish yourself first before you decide you're going to go hopping around. Your publisher is not going to be very happy if you sell paranormal romance and then all of a sudden you decide, nope, I'm going to write adult science fiction, so stick with one once you get established. Profanity in picture books, of course. How about while writing them? Never. Any character names that I've seen so many times that drive me crazy? No. Although there are character names that drive me crazy because the authors try so hard to make them original. In fact, I have a client right now, Rachel, whose main character has a name that drives me crazy, but I mean it's Fotini. Fotini. Where do you find what? I don't know. I mean, come on, just be original, but don't make something up that's from outer space, unless they are from outer space. But even then, make it appropriate to their outer space world. Is it a deal breaker for a writer to not make a change an agent suggests for a manuscript? No, absolutely not. I like to work very collaboratively with my clients and in revisions. I love when my clients come back to me and tell me, I'm just not sure about this, and I'll say, okay, well, why don't you play around with it and we'll see what you come up with. Good example of this, recently I had a client where I told her to cut out an entire character. She said, oh God. And I said, okay, well, and she said, okay, I'm going to write it with both. She ended up sending me the version where she just kind of tweaked the character a little, and I loved it. So just keep in mind, any kind of revision, any kind of suggestions are just that, suggestions. And you need to be able to think about why I'm giving you this suggestion and use that to fix your manuscript. Like, basically, in her case, she thought, well, why did I hate this character? And she fixed it, and then I liked him. YA verse novels. You know, I'm not crazy about those, mostly because I'm not crazy about poetry, which is funny because I prefer picture book and rhyme. The poetry I like is classic poetry, so YA verse, nah, not really, not for me. Absolutely. If I pass on a project, please re-query me with a different project. I was just tweeting about this the other day. Writing develops over time. I know this. As a writer myself, I would be just have suck. I mean, if I didn't keep trying to query new projects to agents, I never would have found an agent for my first project, which, by the way, didn't go anywhere, but, you know, beside the point. There's been, I know also a story of one of my agent friends had an author who kept querying her with different projects. She kept saying, maybe, not really, not really. She fell in love with, sold it at auction. So, yes. How many queries do I get in a typical week? 25 to 30. How often do you request partials, fulls? Ooh, that's tricky. Sometimes it varies. I'd say, gosh, our policy right now, how often do I request partials? Well, never, because our policy is that you need to include a partial with your submission. But how often do I request fulls? I would say 1 out of every 50? I don't know, not very often. The boy book question. Okay, that's going to come off of my bio, by the way, because that confuses everybody. By what I mean when I say don't rep boy books, it means that male protagonists are great. All it means is don't send me something that's like, the example I always use, like trucks, 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 and more trucks, or, you know, let's go build something, and then grill something, and then go chop down trees, and then go make noises with our butts, you know, I don't know, boy things. I'm a very princessy kind of girl, so but male pro tags are great. And books that have boy appeal are also great. Just like I said, nothing specifically for boys. How important is the title of a work in a query? You know, title, I would say it's not extremely important because it's going to change. It'll change no matter what. I almost always change it, and then guess what? The editor is going to change it, so please don't get attached to it, first of all. But the title in a query, I have requested to see a manuscript based on title alone. Not kidding. I saw this girl's work on a blog. She had the name on it. It was called The Virginity Thief. Hello, yeah, I wanted to see that. So you can really get a lot of attention. Ooh, if kittens drove the trucks? Well, see, that has girl appeal. If an international writer is querying U.S. agents, yes, you should try and use American spellings. It's not super important because I do understand why, but if you're trying to publish in America, you're going to need to use American spellings anyway, so you should use American spellings if you're an international writer.